So in this repair, this is for your LCD digitizer and the battery, and it's going to be kind of a two-parter. So first, if your LCD is either cracked or it looks like maybe there's ink on the screen, either you have a black or white display, a number of things you'd want to replace this. If the digitizer or glass obviously is broken, then you'll want to replace this. If the digitizer touch is non-responsive, then more than likely you'll want to replace this. If the battery, over time the batteries will not hold a charge as well as they did when you first bought the phone. So if you're only maybe getting a day or a half a day and you have to charge the phone all the time, then you might replace the battery. So what we'll do is we'll first take the phone, the LCD digitizer apart, and then we'll replace the battery, put the battery back in, and then we'll put the LCD back on. So if you need to just do the LCD digitizer, then omit the battery steps. But if you need to do the battery, then you can kind of follow along. So this is either or, but we're doing both in one video. So like on the disassemble, you do have to remove these two pentalobe screws down here, and then we flip the phone upside down, so the home key's at the top right there, and then we'll get our suction cup and just kind of give it a little pull back. Oop. And that does happen sometimes. So if you have issues with it like that, kind of what we showed on the disassemble is you can get your guitar pick right in there and just kind of give it a little pop up, and then you can get rid of the suction cup and just kind of work your way down the sides, and that should lift the phone. There we go. So then we have this three screws right down here. These three screws right in here, and those are holding the LCD digitizer retaining bracket onto the frame. So you want to take these three screws out, keeping them in order. And that may come out, that's fine. If not, what you'll want to do is it'll lift up to the left, and then these little clips on the left side, you'll actually remove those from the brackets that hold it in place right there. So you just want to lift it to the left and then slide it towards the battery, and you should be able to lift it out. And then there's three plugs right here with that cable, camera cable, and the LCD, and then the third plug at the very bottom may come undone, and if it doesn't, you can lift that up. But so there's the LCD digitizer assembly, and we'll set that aside and move down here to the battery. So we have three screws holding these two brackets down. This bottom bracket is actually going to be for the battery, so we should be able to just remove that middle screw and the bottom screw and get that bracket right there, and then we can unplug the battery cable. Now be careful when you're unplugging it, you just want to get it right in the edge and just pop it up. You don't want to gouge down into the terminals down here, or you could actually damage the battery connector, and then the phone may not work. So what we'll do to get the battery out is use the guitar pick, and we're just going to kind of slide it right down in between the battery and the kind of the frame. There's a little gap right in between, and really all you want to do is just slide it and give it pressure as you slide it, and you'll kind of relieve that adhesive, and you should be able to lift it up and then move it out. Now there's adhesive at the top right here and down the sides, so it may take you a minute or two to kind of work that, but once you get all the adhesive loosened up, then you should be able to remove the battery. And then once we get that battery out, here's the new battery, and you just want to inspect it, make sure it looks okay, that there's no visible damage or anything wrong with the battery. And then what we can do is kind of get it ready for the phone. The only thing that we'll have to change over is the spacer that goes over the plug itself. So we have our kind of the area for it, and you just slide it in. And the biggest thing is this cable right here. You just want to get the cable kind of lined up. You don't want that cable creased at all, so you want it in between the battery and the actual frame of the phone. And once you get that, you should be able to kind of wiggle it down and in place, minding if there's any cables or anything running on the side, that get that in. So what you'll do is you want to just kind of maneuver that right into that space, and then you can get that, plug it right in. And then the old battery, this spacer may be kind of a hassle to get off, so you just want to work at it. And I found if you use something flat and kind of broad, you should be able to get a little piece of it up, and then just slowly peel that off with the adhesive, and then you can put it on to the new plug right there. And then we'll get the bracket. We'll put the 2 screws in here, and then we'll be ready to kind of show you how to change out the LCD digitizer assembly. Okay, so once you get out, that should take care of your battery issues. Now for the LCD digitizer, there's actually 2 ways that you may get the replacement piece. It may come with the home key bracket, the speaker, the camera cable. It may come with all this stuff. If it doesn't, and you need to see how to change these over, you can watch the speaker, the camera and sensor video, the home key, and retaining bracket video. The one thing I will take off is this LCD frame, because that we don't show at all, and it's pretty straightforward. There's only, I believe, 7 screws holding this in. You have the 2 screws on that side, you have 2 screws on this side, you have these 2 screws up top, which you have that screw right there, and you have this screw right here, which is part of the speaker, kind of holds that whole assembly in place, and then you have this 1 screw at the bottom right there. And then once you get all those screws out, you really just doesn't take much to separate that frame. And you'll notice, I'll show you on the close-up here, is with the frame, you're going to have this inside frame and then the actual outside frame. So what you want to do, and it may take you a second or two, but just separate, and you should be able to lift that a little bit, and that'll kind of free it up, and then you can get down here and just lift it, and it should lift that whole bracket up. So we'll go to the main shot again. And so once you get that out, you can just kind of slide it down and out. And if this is how you get the replacement LCD, then you take this old LCD frame off and you can slide that back under there, just being very careful not to damage the backside of the LCD, and then really just be able to kind of wiggle it and it should fall right into place. And then we'll just put these screws back in. And you notice with my kind of my hands that I'll use my fingers as a guide just to kind of lay down the screwdriver onto my thumb, or my fingers. I'll let it rest just to make it easier to line the screws up. There we go. And one more. Okay. So then once everything is transferred over, we're ready to put the LCD digitizer back in the phone. So I'll hold it upside down just to kind of show you a little, hopefully show you a little closer about the plugs going in. If you need to put it on the ground, it may be a little easier, but you really just start at the bottom with the bottom screw and just kind of line it up. And you can kind of move it around, feel it with your finger, and then you should be able to feel it line up, and you can just press it down and it should go right into place. And then number 2, same thing. It may take a second to line it up. And these, you want to make sure that you get it right in place, because if it's off just by a little bit and you try to force it on, then what can happen is you can actually damage the plug either on the board or the cable, and then having to replace the cable again wouldn't be fun. So so there we go. So there's all 3. And then what we'll do next is we'll get our bracket, and just like we took it off, we'll put it on from the left side and just get those little clips kind of hooked in. And once the little clips are in, we should be able to just kind of line it up, and they'll hold it in place. There we go. And then I start with the second screw just to hold that in. Okay. And one left. Alright, that's all in place. And then to put that back in, we're going to start at the bottom or the top, and just get those little kind of little grooves to go under the actual frame, and then we can just slowly kind of go down the phone on each side, being careful not to push in the center, and it should line everything up. There we go. And then last is the 2 screws on the bottom. And we should be good to go. But that should hopefully take care of your LCD or digitizer and battery issues.